Okay, so let's start with cutting cards. I don't want to play for sure, so I want Splash, Anti-Cognition and Deliberate. Stalker, I don't think so. We will see what blue cards are worth splashing. I think it's probably not worth it anyway, so I have this land, so it made me open to splashing blue, but still Familiar needs blue to splash blues, to give blue mana, so that's not great. And this isn't worth it. Stalker also isn't a card worth splashing. Familiar is I think the best, and Umara Mystic. Yes, maybe this too, but they are quite supported. I have 5 wizards, so I'm good with Umara, and 1 instant, 2 sorcerer spells. Not great, but Umara also supports sorcerer, so it fits my deck to some degree, but I don't think it's worth splashing. And Tempest as well, and now I think I don't need this pathway. And we're coming to a point where I just left the cards of my 2 colors, and I almost don't have anything to cut. So I think this deck needs 17 lands at least. So I have 5 warriors, 4 wizards, 1 rogue, and no clerics showing. But I also have adventurer that has all these types. And that's it, I think. This deck makes some sense. I think the cards to consider cutting would be Wildfire. It enables some Landfall shenanigans, but I'm not sure it's worth it. And Might of Murasa is one of the cards to consider cutting. Once per supplies, probably. I lack 2 drops, so I'm pretty happy playing at least 1 copy, maybe both. And Brute isn't great, but I think it will stay in this deck. It's nice that it's a warrior. I think Expedition Champion needs some warriors, and I don't have enough to start cutting them. I have a minor party theme, so I don't really look to cut my creatures with party types. And we can talk about kicker payoffs. That's only one since I cut this blue splash. So Vine Gecko. I think Might of Marasa is still pretty nice in this deck. This deck, I think, it has a lot of creatures. And, not a lot of removal, so combat tricks are something to consider in such decks. I think I can live with one copy. And the Wildfire. It is a way to enable Landfall. So Nectar Pot, it's not a great combo to gain one more life, so that's not worth it. But I won't even count it. But as for the other Landfall payoffs, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's not a lot, and I don't think it's worth a slot. This Wildfire. So there will be spots where you'll be happy to give 2 counters a turn to your side cat, or enable Geopit or Baloth twice. Veloth. It's also nice, but I think with Veloth you're just probably winning the game anyway if it stays, and you can play some lands. You untapped with your mana to cast Cleansing Wildfire. Probably you're winning anyway. So I think this card isn't worth it. It could have some spots when double landfall will matter, but I don't have enough landfall cards to really dedicate a slot to this effect. So one more card to cut, and can it be a land? Because I don't remember if I have some spell lands in this deck. If not, no, I don't. So 17 lands stay. That's not up for debate. So I could even consider 18 because my deck is quite expensive, and you can see it just looking at this average cost, and it doesn't count mana sinks like this, but this is not something I really need to enable. But also kickers, and so this is making them cheaper, but still, if I cast a spell with kicker, it's still more expensive. Even discounted by Vine Gecko, it's still more expensive than it shows here. So I have this Might of Marasa I can kick from time to time, and Spare Supplies are a mana sink, since you have to pay 2 mana twice if you want to draw both cards out of them. And then these two, I really want to pay 6 mana, not just put a 3 mana 2/3 on the battlefield. So this isn't that important to kick it, but it's also a nice option. So it still makes my deck more mana hungry. This can be actually cheaper than it shows, and the same goes for this, but that's only 2 such cards, I think. I didn't miss anything. So it's an expensive deck. I think 18 lands are really something to consider. But what do I cut then? Probably the first spare supplies could go, and I can consider Might of Marasa. Even though I think this can overperform in my deck. I don't like this card, but it makes sense in this deck. And I think that's it. So it would look like this, and I would add an 18th land. That may be a way to go. Or I can just cut Kazan to Stomper, because it can be nice to return 2 lands from time to time and trigger more landfall, but this doesn't have a party creature type, and it's not that great, and I have some high-end creatures, some big monsters, so maybe it's too much to have this Kazan the Stomper. Maybe a combat trick is just a better option. But still, I think my deck needs these 18 lands, so I will just add it. So probably 10-8 is a better distribution, looking at my deck. 8 mountains is still supporting red spells quite well, and I have this proportion. 8 to 13 is not it's not a difference you can neglect. Okay, I'm not sure if this deck will be great, but let's just see it in action. It can probably have some problems with flyers, and I don't have enough removal. It's pretty expensive for an aggressive deck. I'm not happy with it, I think, but let's just play and hope for the best. I can't now improve it. I think I just have to play with what I have. So it's a shame I don't have any spell lands, because 18 lands, just basics, this is not looking great, I think. Or maybe I can consider splashing this blue after all. So with one Cleansing Wildfire and this land, and I don't know, 1 or 2 islands, but isn't just great in many blue decks, so I would just add it because I lack flyers and ways to deal with flying creatures. And splashing a mediocre card in its own color isn't the way to go, and 3-drops aren't very splashable as well. You look to splash powerful cards you can play in the late game, not some cards that are effective for their cost, but since you're splashing, you won't probably won't play them on curve most of the time, so they will be just underwhelming, I think. So no, I don't think Splash and Blue is worth it. I will just stay with what I have and just count on casting Filat as soon as possible and as often as I can. Probably some luck will be needed because Filat is a game-breaking creatures, and I have some good cards, but they're more on the expensive side, so I just have to survive. Flyers can be very annoying, and maybe win with my own threats because I will have big creatures, but they get some time to get going. They take some time, need some time to get going. The Sidecat is not great when you cast it. It becomes great when at least 2 counters are put on it, I think. And that's the problem of this deck, because these landfall creatures, except Filat, are good when you're attacking, and this deck isn't very aggressive with a low number of early drops, most of them not aggressively started, like 1-3 that gains life. And this deck is like meant to attack, but starts attacking pretty late. So okay, but I don't think everything is lost here. I can still try to win some games. So let's check it, how will it perform. So thanks for watching, and let's see you in my first game.